Deadpool and Wolverine is finally out, and I didn't just watch it, I watched it at Comic-Con in Hall H.
If there's still any question about the importance of experiencing something with a crowd, that just changed everything. That was astounding and the best movie experience of my life, so thank you. Thank you.
I think this screening just fucking changed my DNA. That was the most incredible thing I've ever seen, from 2015 to being here to now. I was a mess. I'm soaking wet. Thank you very much. I love you too. It is an enormous honor and a privilege to be up here standing next to the X-Man, Hugh Jackman.
I'll go ahead and give my thoughts on the first two Deadpool movies. First one great, second one bad. Now let's talk about... I'm just kidding, I'll clarify. Deadpool is such a surprising and subversive action flick. It's full of hilarious moments and doesn't take itself too seriously, while still managing to make Wade Wilson a compelling character. While the story isn't anything groundbreaking, the action and humor more than make up for it. It is quite a fun experience. As for Deadpool 2, I didn't care for it very much. This one just didn't work for me, with some of the jokes from the first movie being reused, as well as some jokes just kinda going on for too long. The kid was also really annoying, and the moments that are supposed to be emotional didn't feel earned. The post-credit scene was funny though. As for the Wolverine movies, really all I need to say is Logan is a straight up masterpiece and one of the best comic book movies ever. A strong, emotional, and grounded film that acts as a perfect send-off for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Or at least it was a send-off at the time, as 7 years later, we get the long-awaited team-up of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's also worth noting that each Deadpool movie has had a different director. Tim Miller directed the first one, David Leitch directed the second one, and this one was tackled by Sean Levy, who has worked with both Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman prior to this, twice for each in fact. He has quite an interesting filmography. I've watched most of these and didn't know he was involved with them, but having him direct a highly anticipated team-up movie that many fans have been waiting for was a pretty cool idea. So now these characters are back with the MCU's first R rating, and boy do they really want you to know it.
Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
While now being part of Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe, Deadpool is still allowed to keep his edge, which is a really good thing since it's a major part of his character. Of course, I do think a slightly toned down version of the character would still work, but the disconnect from the previous films would be noticeable. It's nice to see Marvel embracing his adult nature, letting him get away with so much. I will say though that it can seem like they are trying a little too hard at times. I don't know. I didn't often get that with the first two, but this one felt less natural in its R-rated attempts, especially when it came to the F-bomb, often just using it just because they can, but it gets to a point where it becomes a little overused. Apparently the F-word is used over 100 times, which is the most that the Deadpool movie has had, as well as the most of any MCU movie. Up until this point, the MCU had only used the F-word a total of 1 time.
Okay. Now what?
Open the fucking door!
But that doesn't take away from the humor of the film. A lot of the jokes are very funny, though there are some groaners here and there, but with every bad joke, there's also a good laugh to make up for it. So much meta humor, and I was surprised by how much Marvel and Disney let them make fun of the studio. Nice to see they have a sense of humor. It's easy to tell that the actors had a lot of fun, with them in interviews saying how passionate they are about playing the characters. It's showcased in how fun a lot of the action scenes are. The opening scene is so well directed, and I've had NSYNC's Bye 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 stuck in my head for 2 weeks. Despite being called Deadpool and Wolverine, this is very much a Deadpool movie, mostly tone-wise. As for Wolverine, I was a little worried about how they would handle him returning without ruining the fantastic ending of his last film, but they handled it pretty well. They made callbacks to it that didn't at all feel insulting, and when they brought in this new Wolverine who we've never met, they still found ways of getting us to care about him, and Hugh Jackman still plays the character expertly. It's a different Wolverine, but it's like he never left. Though I'm not saying Marvel should always use the multiverse as a way of bringing back actors who have retired from the franchise, but I'm sure they won't do that again. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. The dynamic between Deadpool and Wolverine works so well, with Deadpool being the comic relief character, while Wolverine is the more serious and broken character. They play off of each other very well, and they have plenty of fun back and forth dialogue, the occasional disagreements as well as them eventually seeing eye to eye, and both of them go through an emotional arc of trying to find themselves, which makes the result of it all the more impactful. Also, the way the climax plays out kinda reminds me of that one episode of Stranger Things. I wonder who directed that episode. Oh, Sean, you genius. And if those two aren't enough to get you to wear your white pants, we got some surprise appearances that you would have never expected. As stated in the title, I would be sharing some spoilers, but the movie's been out for 2 weeks and it's been killing it at the box office. I'm sure a good chunk of people have seen it by now. I was amazed when Chris Evans showed up. Even though I saw from a mile away that it would be Human Torch instead of Captain America, the reveal itself was really cool, and seeing Daphne Keane return as X-23 was great since he's a big part of Wolverine's character. Though I wish they hadn't shown her in a trailer just a week before the movie released. I would have preferred waiting to be surprised by that. But they at least managed to keep some even bigger surprises. Jennifer Garner as Elektra, Wesley Snipes as Blade, Channing Tatum as Gambit? This truly goes hard. And they're not just cameos, they actually play a big part in the film. This is fan service, but done well, much like Toby and Andrew appearing in No Way Home. These guest appearances are treated with respect instead of being a punchline for jokes. It would have been easy to do that. Glad they didn't. A great way to get these characters recognized to a newer audience, and seeing the different Deadpool variations was cool too, leading to some incredibly funny jokes. However, while I think the movie is good, there are aspects of it that keep it from being great, most notably the villain. My problem with her is that I don't remember much about her. Cassandra Nova is supposed to be this magic manipulative being, but she doesn't leave much of an impact. When she first appears, she's seen as a big threat, but she doesn't get that much to do in later scenes, not even having much of a presence in the climax. That was the most disappointing aspect in my opinion, but I was also kinda sad that the supporting characters from the previous Deadpool movies didn't have much of a presence. I mean, I'm glad Weasel wasn't in it for obvious reasons, but the other characters were pretty important to the other movies. I understand wanting to focus more on Deadpool and Wolverine's partnership, but they could have had the others make occasional appearances as opposed to being limited to appearing at the beginning and the end. I also completely forgot that they undid the death of Vanessa in the Deadpool 2 post-credits until I rewatched it recently, and to be honest, they did not do anything to justify it. I also think the movie is visually bland, not in terms of its cinematography, as I do think there are some very well shot action sequences, not on the level of Deadpool 2 though. Even though I didn't like that movie, I can recognize that David Leitch is a master at directing stellar action sequences, but Deadpool and Wolverine just doesn't have that much color or creativity in the visuals. I get that most of the movie takes place in this void and it's supposed to look lifeless, but I think they could have found ways to make it look interesting. Dune managed to make scenery with almost nothing but sand look visually appealing. Why doesn't this look interesting? Regardless of a few aspects, I enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, a fun fan-pleasing action flick with some funny meta humor and solid characters. It's not the best Marvel movie ever or even the best Deadpool movie, but it is quite a ride that pays tribute to the Fox superhero movies in a satisfying way. Obviously, if you're not a Deadpool fan, I don't see this winning you over, but it succeeded at what it was trying to do. Deadpool and Wolverine is a marvelous good time.